Hello everyone, this is Steve Risser, the host of Sports Talk with RKJ, giving you your AFC West preview today. We'll do a quick overview on the division from last year, and the Chiefs won the division last year with a record of 12-4. They had an outstanding season from Patrick Mahomes. He had over 50 touchdown passes, and they were this close. They were this close to getting to the Super Bowl. They pretty much were in the Super Bowl but Dee Ford jumped offsides, and they eventually lost to the Patriots in overtime in the AFC Championship game. That was a heartbreaking loss, but the Chiefs had a great year last year. Mahomes had an outstanding season last year. The Chargers were also 12-4. Phillip Rivers had a really good year last year. They were one of the wild cards. They beat the Ravens in the first round of the playoffs, but then eventually ended up losing. Just like the Chiefs, they eventually ended up losing to the Patriots in the divisional round. They got crushed to the Patriots. They had trouble stopping Sonny Michel, and they couldn't protect Phillip Rivers in that game. The Broncos were 6-6 in the middle of December last year, but lost Emmanuel Sanders to injury and Philip Lindsay to injury, which resulted in them losing their final 4 games and having their head coach Vance Joseph get fired. At the beginning of the year last year, the Raiders traded Khalil Mack to the Bears, and they also traded Amari Cooper to the Cowboys, which resulted in a rebuilding year in Oakland, where in John Gruden's first year, they ended up finishing 4-12. So first we'll start with the Chiefs, and what more can you say about Patrick Mahomes? Right now, he is probably, arguably, right there with Aaron Rodgers and Tom Brady as one of the best quarterbacks in football. He outplayed Tom Brady in the AFC Championship game last year, even though the Chiefs lost. He had threw over 50 touchdowns last year. He had an outstanding season for the Chiefs, and I think it's going to be more of the same this year for the Chiefs. Yes, they lost Kareem Hunt, but I feel like Andy Reid with Carlos Hyde and Damian Williams is going to find a way to scheme out a running game. Andy Reid is one of the best offensive coaches in the league. He's going to find a way to scheme out a running game, and I think this Chiefs offense will be close to as good as it was last year, or even as good as good as it was last year. You look at the running back position, that's definitely the question mark. That's going to be the biggest question mark for the Chiefs. With them releasing Kareem Hunt last year, they got Damian Williams and Carlos Hyde. Are they going to be able to carry the load? I think the run game obviously won't be as good as it was last year, but I think it'll still be a capable running game, and I don't think it's going to completely hold back this offense. You look at the wide receiver position, you got Tyreek Hill, one of the fastest receivers in the league, one of the best receivers in the NFL, not because of his size, but because of his speed. He's probably the fastest guy in the league. You got Sammy Watkins, who's a really good number 2. And you also they also address the wide receiver position in the draft as well. At tight end, you got one of the best tight ends in the league, Travis Kelce. I'd say Travis Kelce is the best tight end in the league. I mean, you could maybe make an argument for George Kittle, but I think it's Travis Kelce. I think Travis Kelce is the best tight end in the league. You look at their offensive line, Eric Fisher, not a great left tackle, but a good left tackle. You got Irving. You did lose Mitch Morse to Buffalo. The Bills got him. And then you got at right tackle, you got Jeff Schwartz, who's one of the best. You got Mitchell Schwartz, who's one of the best right tackles in the NFL. He's a really good right tackle. So the Chiefs' offensive line, it's not great, but it's good. It's good. They got a good offensive line. Now, the biggest question mark for the Kansas City Chiefs is on the defensive side of the ball. I mean, they were able, after losing Dee Ford, after trading Dee Ford, they were able to trade for Frank Clark, who had a great year for the Seahawks last year. He had over 13 sacks, and he's really going to help this defensive line. They have a new defensive coordinator. They fired Bob Sutton last year. They bring in Steve Spagnuolo, so they're going to move to the 4-3, and that means that Chris Jones, who had a great year last year for the Chiefs, he was probably one of their best. He probably was their best defensive player. He moves inside to play defensive tackle. So this is a good defensive line. If you got Frank Clark and you got Chris Jones in your defensive line, that's a really good defensive line. The big question for the Chiefs is the linebacker position. The Chiefs last year struggled to stop the run, and you saw that last year in the AFC Championship game. New England ran all over them, and that was the biggest reason the Patriots got by the Kansas City Chiefs in the AFC Championship game. Their linebackers are very shaky with Anthony Hitchens and Reggie Ragland. And then we go to the secondary. I mean, this secondary, and there's definitely a question mark with Brashard Breeland, with Kendall Fuller. They did get Tyrann Mathieu, but he's not the player he once was in Arizona. So this secondary is a little shaky too. Linebacking core is the weakest, but the secondary is a little bit shaky too. So my overall prediction for this team, despite their defense, and their defense it could be, again, one of the worst units in the league like it was last year. Defensive line is good, but their back seven is really weak. Could be still one of the worst units in the league like it was last year. I don't think it's gonna hold this team back, because offensively it's one of the best units in the league. You got one of the best quarterbacks in the league in Patrick Mahomes. You got the best tight end in the league in Travis Kelce. You got a really good wide receiver in Tyreek Hill. I don't think this offense is going to be held back, and I think this team goes 12-4, and I think this team wins the division again. I think you can't doubt Andy Reid. Andy Reid is one of the best coaches in the NFL, and I think he has another great year this year with the Kansas City Chiefs. I think they go 12-4 and they win the AFC West. We'll move on now to the Los Angeles Chargers, and it's been a little bit of a weird offseason for the Chargers. I mean, Phillip Rivers is getting up there in age, and the Melvin Gordon holdout is going to be big. Yes, the Chargers went 4-0 when Melvin Gordon was out last year, but in only one of those 4 games, it was actually their win against Kansas City, that big win they had last year at Kansas City, that they rushed for over 100 yards. So it's going to be very interesting to see what happens with Melvin Gordon. Are they going to give him the big money? Are they not? I personally think that he's a good running back. He's not a great running back. He's definitely not worth $13 million a year. I mean, he's good, but he's arguably not a top 5 running back, so he's not worth $13 million a year. But it's going to be interesting to see what happens there. But you start at the quarterback position. Phillip Rivers had a really good year last year, but the problem with Rivers is age, and I think that's why I definitely pick Kansas. That's why the difference between Kansas City losing Kareem Hunt and the Chargers potentially not having Melvin Gordon is, with Kansas City, you know what you're getting at quarterback. You know you're getting one of the top quarterbacks in the league. With the Chargers, you don't know what you're getting at quarterback. Rivers could have a great year, or he could completely fall off. So you just don't know what you're getting at the quarter. Yes, Rivers has been one of the top quarterbacks in this league for the last 15 years, but you don't know what you're getting at the quarterback position with Rivers' age, and he did not play well at all in that AFC in that playoff game against the Patriots. So that definitely could be a question mark for the Chargers. Obviously, running back is with Gordon not being there. Austin Eckler could do the job, but he's not Melvin Gordon. We look at the receiving core, and I really like these receivers. I like Keenan Allen. He's been able to stay healthy the last couple of years, and that's been big for this team. And I also like Mike Williams. Mike Williams, really, the first round pick of the Chargers 2 years ago out of Clemson. He really stepped up last year and had a really good year for the Chargers. They'll also get Hunter Henry back, which will be big. Hunter Henry, if he can stay healthy, is a pretty good tight end in this league. The big question mark, and a big reason why they got crushed by the Patriots last year, was this offensive line. This offensive line was one of the worst units in the league last year, and they really didn't do much to improve it. I mean, Russell Okung, they might not even have for the season opener. Feeney's not that good. Pouncey's their best offensive lineman. Schofield's not that good, and neither is Tevy. This offensive line is definitely this unit is probably the unit that holds the Chargers back. They definitely were the unit that held the Chargers back last year. It was a big reason why they couldn't compete with the Patriots in that playoff game. This offensive line needs to improve for the Chargers to be a championship level team. If it doesn't, it'll be the same story. They won't be able to get over the hump against teams like the Chiefs, teams like the Colts, and teams like the Patriots. They won't be able to get over the hump against those teams if this offensive line continues to play the way it did last year. You really like this defense. I mean, obviously, Joey Bosa, Melvin Ingram. You trust Ingram a little bit more because Bosa has more of an injury history, but he did stay healthy for most of the year last year. I like the addition of Jerry Tillery, them going out and get Jerry Tillery in the first round. Another reason they got beat as bad as they did the Patriots last year was the interior of their defense. New England ran all over them. They ran for over, Sonny Michel ran for over 130 yards. I think Tillery is going to give them is going to be good against the run. Maybe he can get pressure on the quarterback too as a rookie. I think he makes the middle of their defense better. And also Brandon Mebane is really good against the run as well. We look at the linebacking core, and this is the biggest question mark for the Chargers. Jatavius Brown and Denzel Perriman are decent to okay linebackers, but they did pick up Thomas Davis, who's going to bring that. He was not his past his prime, but he's going to bring that veteran leadership. I think he's going to bring that veteran leadership to the Chargers defense. We look in the secondary, and they got a really good secondary. I like Desmond King. I think Casey Hayward's a pretty good corner too. And they got one of the best safeties in the league in Derwin James. Derwin James is right there with Jamal Adams, with Harrison Smith, with Eddie Jackson as one of the top 4 safeties in the league. He was up there. he was up there for defense. I thought he probably could have very easily won Defensive Rookie of the Year last year. It ended up going to Darius Leonard, but he's one of the best safeties in the league. He can cover. He does everything a modern day safety needs to do now. He could cover. He could stop the run. He could do everything that's needed from a modern day safety. So looking at the record for the Chargers, and Charger fans aren't gonna like this. I'm gonna go 8-8 and then miss the playoffs. Here's my reason why. You don't know you don't know the season you're gonna get out of Phillip Rivers. You don't know what's gonna happen with Melvin Gordon, and this offensive line is absolutely terrible. And also this isn't a great team stopping the run either. So my reason they missed the playoffs is you don't know what season Rivers is gonna have. You might not. You don't know how long you're not going to have Melvin. You don't know how long it's going to be that you don't have Melvin Gordon, and the offensive line's terrible, and they don't stop the run. They're not a great run defense either. So, and you don't know. You never know about Joey Bosa. He might get hurt. He might get hurt as well. So, there's just a lot of question marks there. That yes, they had a great year last year, going 12-4, but and obviously they don't have a great home field advantage in LA. But I just think that this team, with the distraction of Melvin Gordon not being in camp, I think they underachieve. I think they take a step back and they go 8-8, and I think the Chargers miss the playoffs. We'll head out to Denver and talk about the Broncos. And the Broncos, the problem with the Broncos is they won the Super Bowl in 2015 has been the quarterback position. They tried Trevor Siemian. That didn't work. They tried Case Keenum last year. That didn't work. Now they're going out and getting Joe Flacco. Yes, they upgraded a quarterback from what they've had the last 2 years. But how big of an upgrade is Joe Flacco from Case Keenum at this point? Yes, it's an upgrade, but how big of an upgrade? Flacco has been declining the last couple years in Baltimore, and there's a reason the Ravens went out and drafted Lamar Jackson, because Flacco has definitely been on the decline the last couple years. He does have some skilled guys that can help him, though. Phillip Lindsay had a really good year last year, rushed for over. That was definitely a pleasant surprise for the Broncos. He rushed for over 1,000 yards. He had a really good season last year. Something big on this offense is how will Emmanuel Sanders come off his Achilles injury? I think that's going to be big. He got hurt, and I think he got hurt in week 13 last year. That's going to be big for them. I think Cortland Sutton could have a good year. He stepped up at the wide receiver position for them last year. They also drafted Noah Fant in the first round. They traded down with the Steelers with the 20th pick. They drafted Noah Fant. A big question is going to be the offensive line. I think Garrett Bowles, who they drafted in the first round in 2017, really needs to start playing up the potential at left tackle. He's been okay so far, but Garrett Bowles really needs to start playing up the potential. I like what they did with the right side of the offense. I like Ronald, the left side of the line. Ronald Leary, he's a pretty good player. And I like what they did with the left side of this line. I mean, they drafted Dale Rasner out of Kansas State in the second round. That's a good pickup. And they also added Jawan James to play right tackle. So they're trying to improve this offensive line. That's big with Joe Flacco, because Joe Flacco is not a mobile quarterback, and he's going to need time in the pocket. And you saw when he had success in Baltimore, he had time to make those big throws down the field. He needs that time in the pocket to make those really big throws down the field. We look at the defense, and obviously, the funny thing with the Broncos defense is it's kind of the opposite of the Jets defense. The farther away from the ball you go, the Broncos defense is really good. The closer you get to the ball, the Broncos defense isn't that good, and that's very true. You look at their two pass rushers, Bradley Chubb and Von Miller, could be two of the best pass rushers. Two of the best. That could be one of the best pass rushing duos in the league. Having Von Miller and a Bradley Chubb. That could be one of the best duos in the league right there. You also got a corner. You got Chris Harris. You picked up Kareem Jackson. The issue is going to be, I think, the run defense. Even though Vic Fangio is very good at teaching linebackers, and I think it could be improved this year, the run defense is definitely going to be a big question mark for this team, with Derek Wolfe, with Harris in the middle, with Jewell, and with Davis. I think the middle of this defense is going to be a little bit of an issue for this team. And at the safety position, obviously, you got Simmons and you got Parks. So I think this defense could be good, but not great, because I don't love the middle of this defense, but I do like the two pass rushers, and I like Chris Harris on this defense. So I would say overall for the Broncos, I'm going to go 7-9, and I don't think they make the play. I think they miss the playoffs at 7-9. Here's my reason why. There's just a lot of question marks. I think Joe Flacco's an above average quarterback right now, But I think the offensive line is a question mark. I think that offensive line, especially the improvement of Garrett Bowles. How is Dale Reisner going to be at right guard? How is this offensive line going to play? Because they did lose Matt Paradis in the offseason, but they did add some pieces on the right side. So how is this offensive line going to play? I think that's a question mark. How is Sanders going to come off that Achilles injury? That's a question mark for them too. Will Flacco be consistent? That's a question mark. And on defense, outside of Miller, Chubb, and Harris, how is this defense going to play? So there's still a lot of questions on this team, but I think they upgraded a quarterback, but not enough to make the playoffs. So I'm going 7-9. The Broncos miss the playoffs. And lastly, we go to the biggest mess in the AFC West, and that's the Oakland Raiders. Yes, they bring back Derek Carr, but he has regressed the last 2 years. Yes, when the offensive line hasn't been as good, when Amari Cooper hasn't been as good, you've seen real regression out of Derek Carr the last couple of years. The run game, they did go out and draft Josh Jacobs in the first round. I think this run game has some potential to be better than it was last year because it was pretty much non-existent last year. So, I think the run game has a little bit of potential. And also, we all know they made a big trade in the offseason getting Antonio Brown. But let's be honest, Antonio Brown is the biggest diva in the NFL. He starts with the feet, now the helmet. What's next for Antonio Brown? This guy was one of the best receivers in the game. Now he's turned into one of the biggest jokes in the game. He might not even play football this year. This thing's becoming an absolute joke. There's a reason the Steelers only got a third-round pick for this guy. This guy, his career is falling off right now. He is becoming a complete diva, and I just don't think he helps this Raiders. I think he's got talent, but I just don't think he helps this Raiders team at all. We look at the offensive line, and this was definitely a problem last year, and I think it's going to turn into a problem this year. Here's one thing I don't get at all. I don't get at all with what the Raiders did. I don't get why they paid Trenton Brown $16 million a year to play right tackle. That makes absolutely no sense. And you saw the year Colton Miller had at left tackle, and he was absolutely terrible at left tackle last year. And you're going to pay Trent Brown $16 million to play right tackle. That makes absolutely no sense. That's exactly why the Raiders are one of the worst organizations in sports. Why you're going to pay a right tackle $16 million? That's just laughable. That's pathetic. And you saw how poor Colton Miller was at right tackle. If you had him at left tackle, if you have him play right tackle this year, maybe he improves his confidence as a first round pick from 2018. But to start him now at left tackle, make Colton Miller makes absolutely no sense at all. And then you look at the rest of the offensive line. Richie Incognito is going to be suspended for the first 2 weeks of the season. Then you got Gabe Jackson's going to be suspended for 6 more he's going to not suspended. He's going to be out for 6 weeks. So just a lot of things. And I think the Raiders line's going to struggle. I think the offense will be okay because they did add Terrell Williams. You got the Antonio Brown situation. They did add Josh Jacobs. So I think the offense will be okay, but I think the line will struggle. I think you don't know what you're getting out of Derek Carr. He's been inconsistent the last couple of years. And now you look at the defense, and this defense is probably one of the worst units in football as well. You look at Cleveland Ferrell. That was a complete reach. Taking him number 4 overall was inexcusable. That was a total reach for the Raiders to take him number 4 overall. And you look at the rest of the defense, and you really don't have much on the rest of this defense. Vontaze Burfict, he's not the same player he was in Cincinnati. Cincinnati couldn't wait to get rid of him. And then you look at the secondary. LaMarcus Joyner is completely overpaid. I think the Rams are happy they got rid of him. He's an average safety, but he's completely overpaid. The Raiders overpaid a lot of people this offseason. They overpaid Terrell Williams. They overpaid LaMarcus Joyner. They completely overpaid Trent Brown. They overpaid a ton of guys this offseason. And they did draft Jonathan Abram, and he just likes to hit everything. I saw him in Hard Knocks. He just likes to hit everything and doesn't care what's going on. He's just out there hitting people all the time. He could bring some passion to this team, but he's not. His discipline right now is not where it needs to be. My prediction for the Raiders is 4-12. I think this team is a mess. I think that Derek Carr is an above average to average quarterback right now. I think he had some good moments last year. He had that comeback win over the Steelers. He had that comeback win against the Cardinals. He had that comeback win against the Browns. But I just don't think the team isn't good enough for Carr to overcome, especially on the defensive side of the ball. This is one of the worst defenses in football. I think on the offensive line could be one of the worst offensive lines in football. You don't know what you get out of the running game. You have a rookie starting at running back. You got Antonio Brown having issues with the helmet and the feet. Just too many issues here for this to be a good football team. So I think this football team finishes 4-12 in last place in the AFC West. So that's going to wrap it up for the AFC West preview and all of our division previews. I'm going to drop this video at 5 o'clock tonight on my Facebook page. Hopefully you watch this video and you subscribe to the channel, subscribe to my YouTube channel. It's Steve Risser. And we'll be back. I'll be back with Kyle and Justin this week to do our regular show, Sports Talk with RKJ. We will be talking week 2 of the preseason and recapping week 1 of the preseason. So we hope you watch this video tonight, the AFC West preview, and have a great day, everybody.